Hey everyone, welcome back to Journey and Happiness. Today we're exploring 15 timeless truths passed down through generations. Words that will ignite your courage, challenge your comfort zone, and remind you that every great journey begins with a single step. So take a deep breath, open your mind, and let these powerful insights inspire you to live boldly and chase your dreams. 1. A ship is safe in harbor, but that's not what ships are for. A ship is safe in harbor, but that's not what ships are for. Reminds us that while staying in familiar surroundings shields us from danger and uncertainty, it also prevents us from fulfilling our true purpose. Just as a vessel is constructed with sturdy hulls, powerful engines or sails, and navigational tools precisely so it can brave open waters, we too are equipped, through our talents, passions, and resilience, to venture beyond the comforting confines of routine. Remaining anchored in place may feel secure, but it guarantees stasis rather than growth. Without testing ourselves against new challenges, we miss the chance to discover fresh horizons, develop strength, and learn from the inevitable storms we encounter. Historically attributed to John A. Shedd in 1928, this insight captures a timeless tension between safety and ambition. It does not glorify reckless risk-taking, but rather encourages thoughtful preparation, charting a course, gathering resources, and building support so that when difficulties arise, we can navigate through them rather than turning back. The lessons learned from navigating rough seas, whether in a career pivot, a creative endeavor, or a personal transformation, often prove far richer than those gleaned from calm waters. In essence, the proverb celebrates the idea that life's fullest experiences lie not in avoiding hardship, but in harnessing our courage to leave harbor and discover what we are truly capable of when we set sail. 2. Every man has two lives, and the second starts when he realizes he has just one. This aphorism, often attributed to Confucius, though its precise origin is hard to pin down, speaks to the moment of awakening that transforms a merely lived existence into a fully conscious one. In the first life, we drift through habits and routines, deferring our dreams and desires as if time were limitless. We assume there will always be another Monday to begin that project, another birthday to reconnect with old friends, another year to mend relationships. In this state, our days can blur together beneath the illusion of endless tomorrows. The second life begins the instant we confront our own mortality and recognize that this one life is all we have. That realization, brought on by illness, loss, a brush with danger, or simply a moment of clarity, shatters complacency and reorders our priorities. Suddenly, every choice carries urgency, and every moment feels precious. We stop postponing our passions, speak words we once held back, and invest energy in what truly matters. In essence, understanding that life is finite awakens us to live with purpose, courage, and gratitude for the singular journey we're on. 3. If you throw stones at every barking dog, you will never reach your destination. This proverb warns against letting every small annoyance or criticism derail your progress toward a larger goal. Imagine you're on a journey, and every time you hear a dog bark, you stop to throw a stone. Soon you'll be exhausted, off course, and nowhere near your destination. In life, barking dogs are the myriad distractions, petty conflicts, or negative voices that demand our immediate reaction. By engaging with each one, arguing back, defending yourself, or seeking to silence every critic, you expend energy and focus that would be better invested in moving forward. Rather than responding to every snarl or complaint, the proverb urges us to cultivate discernment and restraint. It doesn't mean ignoring genuine threats or constructive feedback, but rather choosing battles wisely. When you concentrate on your path and ignore needless provocations, you preserve your time, energy, and mental clarity. In this way, you maintain forward momentum and stand a far better chance of reaching your goals than if you let every distraction pull you off course. 4. The journey of 1,000 miles begins with a single step. The journey of 1,000 miles begins with a single step is a reminder that even the most daunting or ambitious undertakings start with a small, often humble first action. At first glance, the distance ahead may seem insurmountable, 1,000 miles of effort, uncertainty, and challenge. But acknowledging where you are and simply moving forward is the only way to make real progress. By focusing on that first step rather than becoming paralyzed by the enormity of the task, you transform intention into momentum, turning dreams into achievable reality. Beyond urging us to act, this proverb speaks to the power of consistency and patience. One step begets another, and over time those individual strides accumulate into profound change. It encourages us to break large goals into manageable beginnings and to celebrate progress, no matter how small. When we remind ourselves that every long voyage once started at our feet, we cultivate the courage to begin and the faith to continue, knowing that perseverance rather than perfection is what ultimately carries us across any distance. 5. A tongue has no bones, but it is enough to break a heart. So be careful with your words. This saying highlights the profound power of language. Although the tongue itself is soft and flexible, the words it forms can inflict deep, lasting wounds on another's heart. A careless remark, a harsh criticism, or a thoughtless joke may seem fleeting in the moment, but its emotional impact can linger far longer than any physical blow. Just as bone is needed for physical strength, our words carry a structural force in our relationships, and a single ill-chosen phrase can crack the foundation of trust, affection, or self-esteem. Because words can heal or harm, this proverb reminds us to speak with intention and kindness. Before voicing criticism, we can ask ourselves whether our feedback is constructive or simply hurtful. Before sharing gossip or sarcasm, we can consider its effect on others' feelings. By choosing compassion over cruelty, empathy over ego, we ensure that our speech builds people up rather than tearing them down, turning our tongues into instruments of encouragement and connection, rather than sources of pain. 6. You should never forget a person who came to you with a torch in the dark. This proverb speaks to the deep gratitude and lasting loyalty we owe to those who have guided us through our darkest moments. When you are lost, confused, or overwhelmed, in the dark, and someone offers you a torch, they illuminate your path, giving you clarity, hope, and a way forward. Their kindness and courage in stepping into your shadowy confusion demonstrate a selfless commitment to your well-being, and their light can transform despair into possibility. Remembering such a person is more than polite gratitude. It's an acknowledgement that our successes and recoveries are often shared journeys rather than solo achievements. By never forgetting who helped us see again, we honor the generosity they showed, keep our own sense of humility alive, and inspire ourselves to pay that torch-bearing kindness forward. In doing so, we recognize that human connection and the willingness to carry light for another forms the very foundation of resilience, compassion, and community. 7. Judge the man by his question rather than by his answer. This insight, often attributed to Voltaire, urges us to value the curiosity and critical thinking behind a question more than the polish or correctness of its answer. When someone asks a thoughtful, probing question, it reveals their openness, intellectual courage, and genuine desire to learn or challenge assumptions. An incisive question unmasks the asker's depth of understanding, their priorities, and their willingness to confront uncertainty. In contrast, even a well-rehearsed or clever answer can conceal superficiality, rote memorization, or a desire merely to impress. By focusing on questions rather than answers, we cultivate environments where inquiry is prized over performance. In workplaces, classrooms, or conversations, rewarding those who raise the right issues encourages deeper exploration, innovation, and mutual learning. It also reminds us that not knowing an answer is not a weakness. Acknowledging what we don't know can be the first step toward genuine insight. After all, the path to discovery begins with recognizing gaps in our knowledge, and those who ask the most revealing questions often propel us all forward. Ultimately, judging a person by their questions honors humility over hubris. It celebrates minds that remain curious, skeptical, and open to revision rather than those that cling to the veneer of certainty. When we learn to appreciate the courage it takes to ask why or what if, we foster cultures of authentic dialogue and continuous growth. and we remind ourselves that the questions we dare to raise may matter far more than the answers we think we've already found. 8. When the character of man is not clear to you, look at his friends. This proverb reminds us that the company we keep speaks volumes about who we are, even when our own motives or character remain hidden. Just as a tree is known by the fruit it bears, a person can often be understood by the values, habits, and behaviors reflected in those they choose as companions. If someone surrounds themselves with honest, compassionate, and driven friends, it suggests that they admire and share those qualities. Conversely, if their closest peers exhibit dishonesty or cynicism, it casts a shadow on their own integrity. In daily life, this insight helps us make sense of people whose true nature isn't immediately evident. Instead of relying solely on words or first impressions, we watch how they interact with and are influenced by their circle, the laughter they join in, the causes they champion together, and the tone of their private conversations. By observing these friendships, we gain a window into their priorities, loyalties, and inner moral compass, saving us the guesswork of trying to peel back every layer of their personality on our own. 9. If you want to fly with eagles, do not swim with the ducks. This proverb uses the striking contrast between eagles and ducks to illustrate how your associations and environment shape your ambitions and outcomes. Eagles, known for their soaring flight and keen vision, symbolize excellence, high aspirations, and the courage to rise above challenges. Ducks, by contrast, paddle comfortably on calm waters, content with safety in the ordinary. If you long to fly with eagles, to achieve greatness, push your limits, and see the world from a higher perspective, you cannot afford to stay surrounded by the habitual, risk-averse mindset of the ducks around you. Choosing your companions and your context wisely means immersing yourself in people who inspire bold action, share your lofty goals, and challenge you to grow, rather than clinging to familiarity that keeps you grounded in mediocrity. In essence, this saying reminds us that to become extraordinary, we must step out of easy routines and into circles that elevate our vision and fuel our ascent. 10. Shoot for the moon. Even if you miss, you'll land among the stars. Shoot for the moon. Even if you miss, you'll land among the stars is an invitation to set your aspirations as high as you can imagine, rather than playing it safe with modest goals. By aiming for something that seems almost beyond reach, the moon, you propel yourself to work harder, think more creatively, and push past the self-imposed limits that keep you tethered to the ordinary. In striving for such an audacious target, you cultivate resilience and expand your capabilities. Even if you fall short of the ostensibly ultimate goal, you still accomplish achievements that lie far above where you might have placed your sights otherwise. This saying, often attributed to the American minister and motivational writer Norman Vincent Peale, underscores a powerful psychological truth. Our highest goals shape not only what we finally obtain, but also who we become in the pursuit. It reminds us that the journey toward a great ambition transforms our skills, perspective, and confidence, so that the stumble itself carries us to heights we might never have reached had we settled for less. In essence, the proverb celebrates both daring vision and the unexpected rewards that emerge when we refuse to limit our dreams. 11th, in the end, we will remember not the words of our enemies, but the silence of our friends. This poignant insight, popularized by Martin Luther King Jr., reminds us that the deepest wounds often come not from overt hostility, but from the absence of support when it's most needed. Enemies speaking harsh words can be expected. Their criticism, however painful, at least acknowledges our existence and our impact. It is the friends who stay silent, who refuse to speak up in our defense, offer comfort in adversity, or challenge injustice on our behalf, whose omission hurts most profoundly. Their inaction speaks volumes about indifference, fear, or unwillingness to bear the cost of loyalty, and it can leave us feeling not only abandoned, but also invisible. By highlighting the silence of friends, this quote calls us to recognize the moral responsibility that comes with close relationships. True friendship and community demand more than benign presence. They require courage to affirm what is right, to lend our voices to those in pain, and to stand up even when doing so invites discomfort or risk. In honoring those who find their voice for us, we are reminded how powerful and how necessary It is that we, in turn, refuse to remain silent for others. 12th, believe you can and you're halfway there. Believe you can and you're halfway there reminds us that the spark of achievement is often ignited not by circumstance or raw talent, but by the simple act of self-belief. Often attributed to Theodore Roosevelt, this insight speaks to the power of mindset. Before any mountain is climbed or challenge is met, the first and perhaps most critical step is believing that you're capable of the journey ahead. When you cultivate confidence in your own abilities, you fuel your motivation, sharpen your focus, and marshal the resilience needed to tackle obstacles. In that moment of conviction, you've already surmounted half the distance between doubt and success. Of course, belief alone does not guarantee victory, but it lays the groundwork for every action that follows. Confidence transforms fear into determination, paralysis into progress, and hesitation into perseverance. By choosing to trust yourself, you prime your mind to notice opportunities, draw on your strengths, and adapt in the face of setbacks, turning belief into a self-fulfilling prophecy. In essence, Roosevelt's advice reminds us that the journey to any meaningful goal begins not with the first concrete step, but with the courage to believe that a step can and will be taken. 13. You miss 100% of the shots you don't take. You miss 100% of the shots you don't take uses the world of sports, most famously hockey legend Wayne Gretzky's assertion, to illustrate a universal truth. If you never make the attempt, you foreclose any chance of success. In life, as on the ice or the court, hesitation born of fear or doubt guarantees failure more certainly than any miss made in play. Each opportunity skipped is a goal you've already conceded without even trying, and the real loss isn't a single missed shot, but the regret of what might have been. By reminding us that inaction carries a far greater cost than a failed attempt, this proverb urges courage and initiative. It encourages us to push past the voice of, "What if I fail?" and instead aim for our ambitions, knowing that even an imperfect effort can teach, connect, and open doors. In practice, whether pitching a new idea, applying for a dream job, or simply asking someone out, the act of shooting your shot transforms possibility into real experience. And in doing so, you give yourself the only chance there is to score. 14. Two things are infinite: the universe and human stupidity, and I'm not sure about the universe. This wry observation, commonly attributed to Albert Einstein, juxtaposes the boundless majesty of the cosmos with the equally unfathomable depths of human folly. By confessing uncertainty about the universe's true infinitude, while wryly asserting that human stupidity is undeniably limitless, the speaker highlights how our own ignorance and short-sightedness can often dwarf even the grandest mysteries of existence. In essence, it's a reminder that while we gaze in wonder at stars and galaxies, we too frequently underestimate the scope of our own failings, whether through closed-mindedness, prejudice, or simply thoughtless behavior. At the same time, the quote carries a subtle lesson in humility. If human stupidity is indeed infinite, then our capacity for error and misunderstanding will never be fully contained. Acknowledging this truth can spur us to cultivate curiosity, compassion, and critical thinking, lest we become yet another testament to our own ridiculousness. By recognizing the vastness not only out there, but also within ourselves, we're invited to approach life with both awe for the universe and vigilant self-awareness, striving always to shrink the sphere of our own folly, even if it can never be entirely erased. 15. Success is not final. Failure is not fatal. It is the courage to continue that counts. Success is not final. Failure is not fatal. It is the courage to continue that counts, reminds us that both triumphs and setbacks are only moments along a much longer journey. Even our greatest victories can lull us into complacency if we treat them as the finish line, and our worst defeats needn't define us if we refuse to be defeated by them. What truly matters is the resolve to press on, to learn from success without resting on laurels, and to rise from failure without surrendering to despair. In life, whether in careers, relationships, or personal growth, this insight encourages us to cultivate resilience over perfection. When we celebrate a win, we temper our pride with humility, knowing that the next challenge already awaits. And when we stumble, we grant ourselves the grace to recover, knowing that every misstep can be a teacher rather than a tombstone. Ultimately, it is the steadfast willingness to move forward day after day that shapes our character and leads us toward lasting fulfillment. And that wraps up our journey through these 15 timeless truths. If you found even one of these insights inspiring, give this video a thumbs up and don't forget to subscribe and hit the bell so you never miss a dose of inspiration.